DeLuca here. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some more experimenting with these stretched chameleon cells. So this was the piece I did in my last video. You can see the cells are gigantic. And I used 3 different kinds of additives here. These are the Rain-X. And then these, I'm not sure which was which, so that's kind of where I'm going today. I used Hask Argan oil and OGX, the coconut milk hair serum. And some of these cells look different than the others, and I kind of want to see which one created this kind of rainbow layered cell that's happening here. Because some of them just kind of look a little blah, and then some of them look really cool. So I need to determine which was which. And I'm probably going to be doing a lot of testing with different additives to see what the different effects are with different pouring mediums. So this is probably going to be my next scientific journey to find out how to get the cells that you want, because these kind of came out like jellyfish. They look like flowers before you stretch them. And this was the Rain-X. So that's what we're doing today. I'm going to be using the same colors that I used last time. The only difference is I am using Liquitex Titanium White today instead of the Amsterdam. Here I have a Phthalo Blue by Liquitex Basics, Quinacridone Magenta, and Cadmium Yellow Medium Hue. I'm using medium because the light hue will create cells on its own. That's not what I'm going for. These paints have been mixed 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol. That mixture is then thinned with my concoction of 90% water or 10% Floetrol. You can use just water. I find that using the water and Floetrol mix kind of helps me to not over thin. So the consistency that we are working with today is about a 3 on my consistency scale. It is making a mound on a mound, but it's disappearing pretty quickly. It's making a nice even stream off of my stick. If it's not even, it needs to be mixed more. And as it sits, you will need to mix it because it does kind of puff up a little bit and parts get a bit thicker than others. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you the exact paint brands, colors, consistency, the recipe, and of course the technique, all of the things that I can't fit onto a card. This is the picture of the painting in that video. This box contains a tip for that particular technique, and here at the bottom you have the color palette that was used in this painting. And then these 2 boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors. Mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is put some paint in my cup. I'm going to start with the white. I want that to be the last color that comes out. So just enough to cover the bottom of the cup. And now I'm going to alternate layering 2 colors at a time with white in between, and what this will do is give me a rainbow of colors but with minimal mud. So I can't remember what I started with last time. I'll just start with the blue. And I'm going to do about 1/3 of what's in the cup because I'm going to do 3 layers. So blue, then magenta, and white in between, just enough to cover. Yellow. Blue and white. And magenta. Yellow. And white again. What did I miss? I think I'm good. I think I did it right. All right, well, I have some paint left here, might as well use it. So blue and magenta. And might as well use the last of this yellow. Well, that should do it. Okay. And now I'm going to lay down my base coat. I want these paints to slide around easily. If I were using a colored base coat, I would cover the edges of my canvas because I don't like when the canvas shows through. That can happen if your paints are mixed, then you know what I did not do. Oh, shame on me. I did not spray the back of this canvas, and I can tell. Let's see if I can manage to do this without spilling this paint everywhere. That is not going to tighten up my corners. That's a rookie mistake. Shame on me. But I could tell I hadn't sprayed it because as soon as this touched the canvas kind of gave, and it shouldn't give. It should feel tight like a drum. It's better. It's certainly better than it was. But as I was saying, if you don't cover the edges first and you're using a colored paint, sometimes the canvas can show through and that's not pretty. And so you have to go fix it later and that's no fun. So I just cover the edges in the beginning and then I don't have to worry about it. But if I'm using white for my base coat, it kind of doesn't matter because it would look the same one way or the other. Okay, I've got a base coat down. I will probably have to touch that up before I start spinning just because this is going to sit for a minute. So it's probably going to set up a bit. But in the meantime, you have options here. You could flip this onto something and slide it on. You could flip your canvas over. and then place it on top of the cup and flip the cup. You could just be brave and just flip the cup. Let's see, last time I just flipped the cup. Nah, I'll show you how to slide it on. Take any kind of flat tool like this. Sometimes these are big enough to use. This isn't quite big enough for this cup. So I'll just use this thing, and I'm going to sit my cup on it. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm just going to slide it onto my canvas. Easy peasy. I did kind of mess the base coat up a bit there. It's all right. It's all going to get covered up anyway. Let me just pop some of these bubbles that I just created by doing that. Every time you swipe over your base coat, you can get some bubbles trapped in there. Okay, so I'm just going to lift this up. I'm just going to kind of dot some of this out on the edges because the edges can be a pain in the booty, and any extra juice that you can get on those corners is helpful. I'll even just let this sit on its side so some of that can collect. So if you lift it and tilt, it will all come out kind of evenly. If you lift it straight from the center, you kind of get this ring. And I may try to utilize that. Pop some of these bubbles. The bubbles will create cells because it's going to bring paint up with it that from underneath. But we are aiming higher than that today. So some cool stuff going on. And I don't know if I want to fill this up with cells or kind of be very judicious about it. Let me just even this out. This is level to the table, not the spinner. The spinner's a little bit off, so I kind of have to adjust it and keep it moving. All right, so today I will be using the Hask Argan oil. And I'm going to just kind of squirt a dab of this onto my paper, and that's what I'm going to dip into with my skewer. You're not gonna be able to see that, just a regular skewer. And there's a good bit on there, so I can actually get multiple dips. Theoretically. But I will clean it off on occasion. And these are going to grow, so I do want to keep that in mind. just spun it and I forgot where I just went. Oh, that was a lot. That was a whole drip. Let's see if I can take some of that out. Not trying to get too much on there. Not actually trying to drip the oil, just trying to touch it. This process does take a minute, and being patient is going to be your friend, because if you let these cells grow, then when we stretch them, they're going to look super cool. And I'm trying not to go all the way to the bottom. Like, I'm trying to not touch the canvas because I don't want the silicone to touch the canvas, because then it might push the paint away. And that is not what we're going for here. We don't want bald spots on the canvas. Okay. And now, what I'll do for this outer part, I will use some of the OGX coconut milk hair serum, and this way I'll be able to tell maybe which were which if that doesn't all get stretched off. But I will do a ring just outside of this line. And there are so many different kinds of silicones that can be used. on so many different kinds of pouring mediums, and each one of those is going to react differently with each other. That is just how it is. The Rain-X and the Floetrol combo make flowers, which is cool. Yeah, so far from what I'm seeing, I think it's the Hask that was making the prettier cells. Just the way that the colors are coming up. Okay, so I'm gonna do a bit more Hask. Come on. Oh, that was way too much. Oh, so much. So way too much. Okay. I'm gonna pop a few more of those in here. Yeah, I'm not loving those cells from the OGX. So I'm gonna concentrate on the ones in the center. I'll pop some smaller ones in there. The longer you let them sit, the bigger they get, and then you stretch them. So then if you add some just before you stretch, they'll be smaller. But also, it's a surface tension thing. All right, I'm gonna do one more ring with the Hask. And then a lot of what is on these edges is going to get stretched out and spun off anyway, so I don't need to make cells going all the way out. And what's happening in the center is going to get stretched a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot. Yeah, there are some not so pretty cells happening here. We are experimenting, so I'm not going to be angry. Trying to not get silicone all over my hands. Okay. See some spots that are looking a bit on the dry side. I do have some paint left in my cup just for that occasion. All right, I say we give this a twirl. I mean, I still kind of love those Rain XLs. I like those little flowers that I get. Okay, let's give this a spin. And remember, we don't have to spin fast. It will get there. Okay, so spinning tip. So I can see this side is, you know, doing pretty well. It's mostly covered. These are struggling. So I'm going to push one of those corners a little closer to the edge, like off center. And so what is furthest from the center is going to get the most pull. So because that is on the outer edge, it's like one of those spinny things at the playground. If you're in the center, it doesn't pull quite as hard, but if you are on the edge, you feel like you're going to be flung into outer space. That is the concept here. Centrifugal force. Okay. Just touching that corner up a little bit. Sometimes the corners need a little bit of extra love with the spinning. All right, so now this corner needs some action. So I'm going to put some extra juice on here. And you can use some of your scrapings. Just be careful because it can get muddy. Choose carefully. Okay. All right, so now I will push this corner that way and give it a spin. One of the good things about having your cup tilted like that, so I can make this blend in a little bit better if I'm not going to get the best of coverage there. Interesting. This one definitely came out muddier than the other one. I did layer it differently. And I'm also using a different white. I don't know that the white would make that much of a difference. They're both titanium whites, so they're both pretty hefty whites. I know I'm gonna wind up spinning some of these off, but I just feel like I want to stretch this more. Let me get this back to center. I want bigger cells, so I'm gonna keep spinning to my heart's desire. Ain't nobody stopping me. Decisions. Keep going? Do I keep going? I think I want to keep going. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of pink. It's got to be a certain shade of pink, and it is not this shade of pink. This shade of pink is not, it's not doing it for me. But the more I spin this, the bigger these cells will get. This will just keep stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching. That is just what it will do. You have seen how much paint can move over time if your painting is not level. You have seen how much it can move overnight, and I just let that hit my knuckle. What hit? Okay, continuing with the spinning. I want to stretch these babies out. I mean, I kind of feel like they get more interesting the more I stretch them. I am losing these OGX cells, but to be honest with you, the OGX is like really, really hard to clean off. So if they come off and then the Hask sticks around, Hask was a lot easier to clean than the OGX. I'm not going to be terribly mad. And I know this part might be very boring to you, watching this spin over and over and over again, but I feel it is important that you see A, how long I am letting this spin, and B, how fast I'm spinning it. Being patient will help you keep your cell shapes better. I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I like it more the more I spin. There may be a point of diminished returns, but I don't feel like I've hit it yet. And just for fun, I'll go in the other direction. Okay, well, I definitely like it better than I did before I spun it. It is getting more interesting, I think. It's not my favorite piece, I'll be honest. I like the other one better. I think I like the Rain-X cells. Well, I mean, I did just get a little bit of mud in this one, so maybe that's the problem. I will try again with colors that I know won't make mud and see what kind of magic can happen with that. I'm gonna give it a little bit more, a little bit more. Okay. Well, definitely got some of those interesting bullseye type cells in there. I feel like the OGX kind of blended more. I feel like the Hask gave more layers, separate layers, and then these are the OGX cells here on this outer ring. And you can see they're a lot more blendy. You know, which can be cool if that's, you know, the type of cell that you're going for, but I really liked this layered effect. So I think for my purposes, I would go with the Hask over the OGX. All right, well, I guess that's gonna be it for this one. And I'm gonna clean up and bring you in for a close-up back in a few. Okay, here it is. This piece is dried. And I'm glad I let it dry because some of these cells have some really, really cool layers going on. I do still think I prefer the Hask cells to the OGX cells. So these are the OGX cells. And I don't like how the colors blended as much in those. But in these, it's like the colors stayed more separate. Like even though I still have a lot of those same colors going on, this kind of came out, you know, a little bit of a muddy green. But in the Hask cells, the colors stayed more separate. So I think Hask wins this round. I will be testing some other kinds of additives. Just really cool layering in those Hask cells. So yeah, I'm going to continue on my testing journey for these stretched Chameleon cells. I feel like the stretched cells look a lot different than, you know, just the regular Chameleon. There's something with the stretching, kind of does something with the layering. Kind of feathers it out maybe. Anywho, so I'm going to continue on this journey and I hope you come with me. So make sure you are subscribed and you click that bell so you receive notifications when I put up new content. Check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. My website, GinaDeLuca.net, where you can find my art and music and the fluid art inspiration cards for sale. You will also find links to my affiliates. If you use those coupon codes or enter through those links, I receive a small commission at no additional cost to you. You'll find the link to the Patreon, and what else is in there? Oh, the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces. Ask some questions. Get some inspiration. A good time is had by most. It is the internet after all. Okay, well, I think that's it for me for today. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Now go make some art.